In this tutorial, I'll show you how to do green screening in Blender with Blender version 5.0. So let's jump into Blender. Oops, I'm a little too far. That's better, but I need my chair. And my microphone. So with the release of Blender version 5, you can now use the compositor directly in the video editor, and so you can add compositing effects to your videos. And this makes it so much faster and so much easier to do green screening. Because in older versions of Blender, you had to add in the video into the compositor, you had to do all the keying and the compositing effects, and then you had to render out all the composited images to frames into a folder, and then recompile them back in Blender's video editor. But Blender 5.0 makes green screening so much easier because you can easily add the green screen effect to your video strips. Now if you want to download some green screen videos to try it out yourself, then I'll have some Pixabay green screen video links in the description, and you can try out green screening yourself, or you can of course film your own shot. And if you are filming your own shot but you don't have a green screen and you're looking into purchasing a green screen, then I'll have some Amazon affiliate links in the description to some green screens, as well as the green screen setup that I have and recommend. So the green screen setup that I have comes with a stand, and then it has like some little clamps on top, and then the green screen can hang from the stand. So if you want to check it out, links are in the description, and if you use my affiliate link to make a purchase, then I'll earn a small commission. Now if you want to jump right into the tutorial, you can use the timestamps in the description, but first I want to give you some tips on filming your own green screen shots. So my first tip is to make sure that your subject isn't wearing anything green, because if your subject has like a green shirt, for example, the green shirt is going to be keyed out, and also make sure that any props or anything else in the scene isn't green. My second tip is to make sure you remove as many wrinkles and folds as possible, because if your green screen has too many wrinkles and folds, then that can add dark shadows and it can be hard to key that out. It's also important to use even lighting because you want the green color to be as evenly green as possible without any shadows. My next tip is to use a higher frame rate, because if you're using a higher frame rate, then when people are walking through the green screen, there won't be quite as much blur. So if you're using a lower frame rate, if there is a lot of blur, then that blur can just look a bit weird and you can start to see the green behind the blur. So if you use a higher frame rate, there's going to be less blur on fast moving objects. My next tip is to make sure your subjects are always behind the green screen, because if they move away from the green screen, then there's going to be issues with keying that out. So you could maybe do like a mask, so you could add a mask and then try rotoscoping that out, but it's going to be hard to cut that out, so make sure all your subjects stay behind the green screen. My next tip is to make sure that you're not casting a shadow on the green screen, because if you are, that's going to add like a dark shadow, and so if the shadow is too strong, then it's just going to be hard to key out. And my last tip is that you can actually use any other color. You don't actually need to use green. Now I believe people usually use green because usually people aren't wearing green, or there's not usually green on props or costumes, but you don't actually have to use green. You can really use any color. So maybe you have a big blue sheet or something, you could use that instead of a green screen. So I've just opened up a new scene in Blender version 5, and my screencast keys will be right down here in the corner so you can see what buttons I'm pressing. Let's click on File, and we're going to click on New, and we're going to open up a new video editing. So from my file browser, I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to drop in the video here. Now, as soon as you add in the video, what you want to do is you want to click right up here to the output properties, and you want to make sure it's using the frame rate that you want to use, and you also want to make sure that it's using the resolution that you want to use. Now, if you want to set the frame rate and the resolution to your video, what you want to do is select the video strip, and then you want to click here on strip, and you want to go to movie strip, and you want to click on set render size. You can see now it's set it to the correct size. So this was the video that I recorded. And then as for the frame rate, I know I recorded this with 60 frames per second. Now, when you drag and drop in the video, Blender should automatically set the frame rate, but if it doesn't, just set it to the frame rate that you recorded your video. So what I'm going to do is click on the video strip, and I'll hit G to grab, and I'm just going to drag it way over here. Let's go back to the very starting. So drag the playhead to the starting, and I'll just drag it right over here, right before I walk in. So now what I want to do is cut the strip. So the shortcut key for that is the K button. Now I've customized Blender for my own use, so I actually use the S key, so I hit S to cut the strips, but the shortcut key on default is K. So once you cut the strip, you can just select this video strip here and hit X to delete it. Let's also go down right here to the end frame, where we're going to drag the end frame up, and now let's just hit the spacebar to play this, or you can drag it over, and then I'll just wait till when I go out of the shot, so just right there. So I'm going to select the video, and I'm going to hit the K button, and then I'll hit X to delete. So now we just have the spot that we want. And then what I'm also going to do is set the end frame. So what you can do is drag the little blue playhead to where you want the end frame, and then you can press the Control End button. Control End, and that is going to set the end frame, or you can also just add the end frame right here. You can also save your project by clicking on File and just save your project. So now let's add the compositing effects to this video. So what I'm going to do is click on the video to select it, and we're going to click over here to go to the strip modifiers. Let's add strip modifier, and we're going to add compositor, and then let's click on new to add new compositing nodes. And then what I'm going to do is click here in the corner and click and drag over here and let go. And then what I can do is click here to change the editor type, and we're going to change it to the compositor. Let's just close this side panel. And I'm also not going to be using these effects here. You could use them if you want to, but I'll just click and drag this down just to close this. So now let's click on the drop down, and we want to click on the one here which we added to the modifier. So let's zoom in here. So now let's hit Shift A for the add menu, and I'm going to search for key, and we're going to add the keying node. And I'm going to stick it right here between the group input and the group output, so just stick it right there. Now you can see Blender is getting pretty laggy, so one way that we can speed this up is we can add a proxy. So if you hover your mouse in the sequencer and press the N key to open up the side panel, you can click here on proxy, and you want to make sure you select the video strip, not the audio strip, but select the video strip. And I'm going to click on this button here to turn on the strip proxy and time code. Now for me, what I'm going to do is change the resolution to 50, and then I'm going to turn the quality to 0, or turn it to the smallest amount, which is 1. Then what I'm going to do is click on the rebuild proxy button, and so this is going to create a proxy so it won't be quite as laggy in the file. And you can see right down here on the bottom of Blender it's building the proxy, so I'll just wait for this to finish. But while I'm waiting for this to finish, I need to hit the N key to open up the side panel right over here when I can view my video, and I'm going to click on the view button. And on the proxy render size, I'm going to change this to 50%, so once this actually finishes, once the proxy loads up, we're actually going to be able to preview our proxy. So I'll hit the N key to close the side panel. So now when I play this, it's not quite as laggy. So now here on the keying node, we want to make the green color. So let's open this up, make it a little bit bigger. And on the key color, I can make this a green color, or whatever color your green screen is. Now I find that making it darker works a lot better for most green screen shots. So usually when I'm doing green screening, instead of making it the exact green color, I like making it kind of a dark green. Now what I could do is press the M key to mute this node. And then what I could do is click on the green color right here and click on the eyedropper. And then I could actually choose this green color by clicking right there, and it's going to choose that actual green color, and then I'll press the M key to unmute it. So you can see it did a pretty good job, but I find that making it a darker color actually works better. And so you can see here, if you make it super saturated, it might actually be worse. So I'm going to leave it kind of about here, so a bit less saturated. You can see if it's too light, you can kind of see a little bit of the green screen right here. So I find that just making it a little bit darker works a lot better. Now what I'm going to do is take this matte here, and I'm going to put the matte here into this reroute here to go into the group output. And you can see here, everything that is the green screen should be black. So using this matte value, previewing the matte, can really help you to kind of see where there's problems. So you can see there's these white spots here, so that's kind of where there's like shadows and things. So we want to fix that. So let's just turn this down so it's a little bit darker. And then we can play through this and just see how that is looking. Now there are a lot of settings here, so you can open up the tabs and change the settings. But what I'm going to do is go to the tweak setting, and I'm going to turn up this black level. So I'm just going to turn up the black level a little bit, and you can see if I turn up the black level, it does a really good job at kind of getting rid of those extra shadows. So I'm looking right here where those extra shadows are. So if I turn up the black level, it kind of gets rid of it. But you can also click on the key color and just make it a little bit darker. And then another thing that I find really helps is if you just click on the color here and slightly move it around. So maybe make it slightly more blue or slightly more towards the yellow. Just kind of moving the color around and playing around with it can really help to get the green screen shot to look a lot better. So now you can see it looks much more crisp. You can see it a lot better, and there isn't really any of those white spots. So now what I'm going to do is take the image here, the color, and stick it back up to the reroute. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to open up the post process, and I find that turning up the blur size just a little bit makes it look a lot nicer, because if I zoom in close here, you can see it's kind of low quality, and that's because we're using the proxy render size of 50, so it's only half the resolution, but you can see it still looks a bit sharp. So what I'm going to do is turn this blur size just to 5. And so it's just going to add a tiny little bit of a blur to the edges. So if I just preview the matte again, you can kind of see what it's doing. So if I turn the blur size to 0, you can see it's much more sharp. but if I turn the post blur size to just like a 5, it's just going to blur the edges a little bit, and I find that looks a lot nicer. Now what you can also do is hit N to open up the side panel and click here on the proxy render size, and you can just click on 100 just to see it again. It's going to be pretty laggy if you try to play it, but you can see if I turn this up to 100, now I can kind of look around here and just see what that looks like. But for now, I'm just going to open up the proxy render size and turn this back to 50 so it's a little bit faster in the viewport. Now there's another problem, and that is that over here on this side and over here on this side, you can see the edges of the green screen. And so what we want to do to fix this is we want to open up the mask, and you can see there is this garbage mat. So what we want to do is create a mask around the character, and then we're going to put that into the garbage mat, and it will get rid of anything else. So let's go to the add menu, and I'm going to search for a box mask. A box mask is a really easy way to do this. Now if you wanted to, you could actually add a custom mask, and you could go to the masking editor in Blender, and you could actually create a custom shaped mask, but in this case I'm just going to use the box mask. So I'm going to put the mask here into the garbage mat. So you can see there is the mask. If I just take the mask here and plug it up here to the reroute, you can see what the mask is looking like. So it's just black with a white square. So I can just turn up the size. So let's just make the size bigger like that, and then I can also turn up this size. So now let's just take the color of the king and put it back into that reroute. So you can see wherever the garbage mat is, that's going to basically delete it so it'll be transparent. The problem with this is that it's actually getting rid of me but not getting rid of the background. So an easy way to fix this is to just use an invert node. So search for invert color, and we're going to drop this right here. And so now it's going to switch it. So now you can see where the green screen ends on the left and right are completely gone. So now what we can do is just add in a video or an image or a color or whatever you want underneath this video. So I downloaded this beach video from Pixabay. Link will be in the description if you want to download it. And I'm just going to click and drag and drop it from my file browser. And then I'm just going to drag it right down here. So hit G to grab, just drag it down right there. And now when we play this, you can see the beach video is playing behind it. Now the final thing you can do if you want to is to add a little bit of color correction to make it look like I'm actually in the scene in the beach. So what I'm going to do is hit Shift A for the add menu, and you could go down here to color, and you could go to like the color adjust, and you could use brightness and contrast, color balance, exposure, hue correct, and a bunch more. You can use all these if you want to. I am just going to add the RGB curves. So I'm just going to drop this right here after the king. So because we're putting it after the king, it's going to edit the colors of my video, so the video of me. And so I can click right here and drag this up into this corner to make it brighter or make it a bit darker. I could also click on the R for red, G for green, and B for blue. And so for example, I could add more blue or less blue. So if you want to, you can just do a little bit of color correction to your scene to make it look like you're actually at the beach or whatever you're replacing the green screen for. So it's really that simple. So then to render out your video, I'm just going to show you the video settings that I like to use. So you can go to the output properties, and I'm going to scroll down here. So then here on the output, you can click on this file icon and you can choose a location. So I usually just choose to render it to the desktop. So you can just choose a location. And then if you want to, you can also click here after the / and you could type in a name. So I could just call this like green screen video. Then on the media type, you can change the type to video. Then you can open up the encoding here, and I like to use MPEG-4 as the container, the video codec of H.264. For the output quality, I like to use medium quality, and the encoding speed I set to good. And then if you have any audio, you can change this to whatever audio codec you use. I like to use AAC. You could also just use no audio. So once you've set that all up, you can just click on render, and you can render the animation. Now you might be wondering how you can fade away the green screen like I did at the very beginning of this video. So I'll just show you how I did that. So what I'm going to do is select the video and then hit Shift D to duplicate. And then I'm going to move it up, and what I'm going to do is click with my mouse wheel to constrain it to the y-axis, and then just click right there. So you can now see I have 2 duplicates of the video. But then here on the top video, what I'm going to do is click here to go to the strip modifiers, and I'll click on the X here to get rid of the compositor. So this one on the top doesn't have the green screening, but then the bottom one does. So now what I'm going to do is just go to the spot where I want it to switch. So when I like look up here, I want it to change to the beach. So now what I'm going to do is hold down the Shift key and select both videos, and you can hit the K button to cut the strips. And then I'm going to click on this one and hit X to delete. Then I'll click on this one and hit X to delete. So now we have 2 of the exact same videos, but you can see this one has the green screen and then this one has the beach. And make sure that your beach video is underneath the one with the compositing effects. So now what I want to do is overlay these. So if I click here on the handles, I can drag this one forward and then I can drag this one back. So now you can see they're overlapping. So I now want to just add a fade. So I'm going to click on the first one, Then I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click on the second one last. So it's important that you click on this one first and then click on this one last, so it'll fade from the first one to the second one. Then what I can do is click on the Add button, or you can press Shift A, and you can go to Transition, and there's some different crossfades. I usually just use Crossfade, which is going to be a fade, or you can use Wipe. So now when I just play through this, you can see it's wiping down from the green screen to the beach scene. And if you click on the wipe and then click right over here to go to the strip settings, you could change some things, like you could change the angle, so you could maybe rotate it if you wanted to. So I might rotate it around so it's kind of diagonal. That's pretty cool. And then you can also turn up this blur width. So I might turn this up a little bit so it's a bit blurred. So now you can see we're just fading from the green screen to the beach. So that's how you can do green screening in Blender 5, and it's way easier than any other previous Blender versions because we can now use the compositing effects directly in the video editor. And if you'd like to learn more about the Blender 5.0 new features, I've been recently uploading some different videos on my YouTube channel covering the new features, so you can definitely check out those videos on my channel. You can also check out the playlist in the description. And if you enjoy my tutorials and you'd like to help support me and this channel, then some great places to do that are on my Gumroad store and my Patreon page. So on my Gumroad store and Patreon page, you can get access to lots of Blender content like 3D models and assets, tutorial files, artwork project files, procedural materials, geometry node modifier setups, and lots more Blender content on my Gumroad store and Patreon page. So links will be in the description, and thank you everyone so much for your support. So I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.